Welcome back, beautiful people. Welcome to the Feminine Leadership Summit. I'm really excited to introduce you to my dear friend, sister Tatiana Dellepiane. And she is a sex and relationship expert, a tantra teacher, a healer, and an artist, born and raised in New York City. Tatiana, like most masterful energy healers, has been a student of energy and sensual choreography in healing for her entire life. Studying modalities from all around the world, she incorporates the ancient wisdom of Tantra, sacred sexuality, and indigenous practices adapted for the modern world. She is passionate about sharing her personal experiences, lessons, and wisdom to empower other women. And Tatiana offers one-on-one mentorships, group trainings, online one-on-one coaching, group programs, and intensives and workshops throughout New York City. She's been featured in Glamour, Cosmopolitan, Women's Health, Health.com, The Greatest, The Insider, The Metro, GQ, Sentient, AskMen.com, Stylecaster, and YourTango.com. Welcome, Tatiana.
Hi. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, it's such an honor, pleasure. It's good to reconnect with you. It's been a little while. So for anybody that hasn't had the pleasure of kind of connecting with you and diving into your work, will you share just a little bit more about your personal journey of kind of how you got to be doing what you're doing?
Yeah, it started a couple of years ago. I would say I started my self-love journey of like finding myself over 12 years ago. And I had been, diving deep into many different practices at that time. From all different parts of the world. I was whirling like like the Sufis. I was doing a lot of different types of yoga. Just exploring and traveling and just doing a lot of that, like finding myself, finding my beloved within, and just a lot of healing too of my heart, because I had been heartbroken from a relationship that didn't work out. And I was also in a very codependent relationship. So I needed to like heal all those dynamics. So even though like I was doing a lot of this work of healing and self-expression and just like diving deep into all these modalities of finding myself, I realized that all the work that I was doing was really like more masculine based. It was more about reaching for something, for enlightenment, father sky. Everything was about the divine masculine. And I started becoming really frustrated because I'm like, I feel like there's something missing from all the work that I'm doing. I know that I'm doing a lot of great work and I'm grateful for all these different experiences, but something more was calling for me. Now, at the time, even though I wanted something more because I felt it, like something more rooted, more of like my body, my sensuality, and just, that connection to that primal energy and the goddess and all things divine feminine. I was avoiding being abused as a child, just like, avoiding all this trauma that I had. It wasn't something that I thought about until probably like 2013, where I realized, all the things that happened in the past, I kind of have to do some work on that, like heal that, because I've always been the type of person, I've always been very driven, very ambitious, passionate. I'm the type of person that I always move forward, always, ever since I was a kid. If something happened to me, I was just, okay, that happened to, that experience happened to me. I'm moving forward because I'm always creating moment to moment. So even as a child, I always, had that way of thinking. And then now that I'm older, I'm like, oh my God, I'm avoiding something here. And it wasn't until I was exploring a lot of Kundalini yoga which is the Yogi Bhajan, you know, kind of like stuff at that time. And, you know, I was doing a lot of Breath of Fire, which I hated, by the way. So, and they're pretty intense. Like the Kriyas are really intense. And I remember that all these things started coming up for me. I started developing a lot of pain in my back, on my hip, my pelvic area. I was always sick all the time. I would always catching colds and like always had like physical ailments. And then that's only the physical. That doesn't include, like, there was emotional stuff that was coming up. My boundaries sucked. I was not in a good family dynamics, and I just had all these patterns. And it wasn't until I realized that, holy shit, one day I woke up and I felt disconnected. Like my heart shut down, my pussy shut down. I didn't want to have sex. I wasn't in love with my boyfriend anymore. Like, just shut down. And I'm like, what is happening to me? I felt like my body just like shut down and froze or something. Like now I'm feeling kind of numb. Now I'm not feeling anything at all. Yeah. And it wasn't until I found my teacher, our teacher, the late Sam Isadora. I actually found her through, I was browsing Facebook, and I found her on Facebook, and I think she was like promoting her book at the time, like doing like a Kickstarter or something for a book. And I knew at that point when I saw her, I'm like I started shivering. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is my intuition, like really trying to tell me like I gotta go work with her. And as soon as I saw her and I saw all the work that she was like doing in the world, like I Googled her. I was trying to like you know, I was researching, and in a very short amount of time before I emailed her. And I'm like, she is doing the work that I want to do in the world, and also the work that I need. This is what I need. And I had always been avoiding this stuff. And I've also been kind of resistant to doing Tantra for some reason. I don't know why. It had been like 3 years prior that of like people recommending me all these like Tantra teachers. And I was like, no, because I didn't resonate with any of the teachers here in New York City. And I just didn't like anyone. I wanted someone that I found relatable. It resonated with my energy and who I am. And that's why I chose Sam, because I felt called to her, and we're very similar in many ways. She's also a Virgo like me. And I just liked, I just felt like she was really authentic, and the kind of like that raw, edgy, you know, like persona that I needed for myself. And so I emailed her. I emailed her right away, and I told her straight up, I want you to be my mentor. And I've never done that in my life before. I've never had role models in my life. I've always been a loner. So for me to do that was like huge. Why I you know, yeah, I mean, you know, you feel called for the people that you want to work with, and right away, straight up, I'm like, I want you to be my mentor. What do I need to do? She was like, come to India. And I'm like, wait a second, I can't be in India in 3 days, because she was literally going to India in 3 days. I'm like, I cannot make that possible. There's just no way. But then she said, come to my yoga training in April. And yeah, like a month and a half later, I was there. And, you know, it wasn't easy, because every time I did work with Sam, I was always sick, because a lot came up for me. And honestly, when I went to go to do the first training with her, I really thought that I was gonna do a lot of like sexy, sensual things, but it wasn't like that at all. It was like straight up mantra, pranayama, and these yoga poses, and just a lot of discomfort. And I'm like, when is the sexy goddess worship rituals are gonna happen? Because that's what I came for. But then I realized later on of like how powerful this work is. And I fell in love with Breath of Fire, because I hated it before. And I'm like, whoa, this work is powerful. And I knew straight up on that first training, we were sitting in a circle, and I remember saying out loud, I want to bring this to New York. Like, I feel called to bring this medicine to New York City, because I knew that that week alone of doing Breath of Fire and all these different, you know, these different tools that I learned that I was going to take with me, I'm like, I really want to share that with my community, with the people in my life. And yeah, and ever since then, you know, that's pretty much what I've been, you know, doing, just, you know, teaching the root stuff, the foundation, and also the sexy stuff, because eventually she did she did teach the sexy stuff, but that took time. But what I learned from that was that you kind of need to work on getting into the root of all things and building that foundation in your body so that you'll feel safe, raise your energetic capacity to be able to bring all this energy, to feel all this pleasure, because otherwise you cannot fill yourself up in a broken container.
Yeah.
Your vessel needs to be strong. And that's something that I learned, and what I teach my clients, because everyone wants the sexy stuff. Everyone's like, I want to learn how to have orgasms. I want to learn how to have better sex.
There's some stuff to deal with in the root before you can get there. Yeah, and even like what I remember us getting from her also was like, yeah, even that path of like, we want to reach enlightenment, you know, we want to like transcend and all of that. It's like, we want to come up into the upper chakras, but again, no one's dealing with the root. No one's dealing with all of the stuff that's in the first and the second chakra around sexual trauma, and shame and survival and all of that. And so, yeah, it was like really, really powerful to get like, oh, I can't transcend, and I can't have amazing orgasms or freedom or whatever it is that I want if I don't have this like solid foundation and capacity to hold it all.
Yeah.
So
and what
powerful.
I learned, and from like, you know, what I learned from doing this work is that I actually don't have that thing inside me where I'm reaching for something. Like, I no longer am looking for enlightenment. I'm no longer, you know, like in the past that, you know, I was into that, but now it's more like I'm here now, you know, and in this reality, and being, you know, okay with what is.
Yeah. And I think the fundamental like of that word enlightenment, you know, is to realize we are light, which we already are. So there's actually nowhere that we need to go. We don't need to transcend our humanity or our ego in order to be light, to be love, to be divine as well. It's all sacred.
Yeah, because we're always hearing a lot about like, I need to ascend. Oh my God, ascension. I'm like, there's nothing that you need to do. You are already ascending. We all are.
Yeah. And another thing that you're reminding me of, like what we got, you know, was really the descend is just as important. Like that energy coming back down to the ground, back down to the root of that masculine and feminine kind of being in that constant like weaving and dance together, not just reaching for Father, Sky, God, but also bringing the goddess back to earth. Yeah. Something that you mentioned in your story I think is really powerful to kind of come back to a little bit is in those moments where you were kind of freezing, going numb, and like not into sex, not into your boyfriend, all of that kind of just shutting down. I think because that happened to me as well, and I would just put it down to like my boyfriend's not doing it for me anymore or something, but really it was trauma. It was trauma coming up. It was trauma that was unresolved, and it's a natural freeze response that we go into in order, and we have to kind of like return to be able to then like safely unfreeze with choice and come back out.
And that may happen at any moment to anyone, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. because I go through different phases now with my body and my libido. Things just, you know, come up. And at that time, my relationship didn't have a strong foundation. So I knew that. I didn't even blame it on him. It was more like, I don't feel safe in this relationship. I don't trust him. My heart shut down for a good reason. Yeah. And so, you know, it is true that we do go through different phases, and it doesn't mean get rid of the boyfriend, or maybe it means that, but it just means that we all go through different phases. I know that for me, I'm never like this. I'm always like in waves. And I know that definitely last year, because I got married last year, my libido did go down. But then again, I was going through a lot of other stuff as well. You know, last year I had my dark night of the soul at the same time that I was getting married, and I just didn't want to have sex. I just had no desire. And it's interesting because I'm like, I'm a sex and relationship coach, and this is what I do with other with other women. And I started like, wow, it's crazy how like now I'm having this issue myself, but I was okay with it because I was going through a lot of like my ego dying. I was going a lot with like being okay with the rise and fall like a phoenix. And like a lot of things happened last year, not to just me, but to many people, because there was just something that's going on with the awakening of the planet and you know, with the world. And there were a lot of planets in retrograde. So of course I was fucked up, you know, like I think there were like 6 planets on retrograde, and it was just insane. I felt like I was dying like every week, every month. And when I felt like I was like, yes, oh my God, I got my energy back. I have so much Shakti. And then the next day.
Yeah, I had a wild ride last year also. I think a lot of people can relate. And last year I took like a vow of celibacy for myself. I left my marriage and dedicated to being celibate. And I started with like 3 months because I thought that's all I could handle. And then I was like, oh, I actually want to do 3 more. And then I was like, oh, I actually want to do 6 more. But I had a question like, but you're a tantra teacher and you're not having sex. I'm like, okay, well, that actually hasn't.
Yeah, there was a part of me that wanted to be celibate last year as well. We almost did 3 months of celibacy, but for some reason, when we made it's kind of silly. Every time we said that we were going to give ourselves 90 days and then have sex like on our wedding night, we wanted to do that. Like a few days later, like there was some resistance. We would have sex because we were like, oh, we can't do it, you know? Yeah, it was something there of like our teenage selves were like, we're not going to do this, like being rebellious that we couldn't, fuck it, we just can't do it. Yeah. We need to have sex. This is crazy. But there was a part of me that wished that, you know, that I did, because, you know, I started having a shift around September. I got married November 11, and I saw the shift around August that things started changing a little bit for me. And I'm like, oh, I really want to have like a nice container with him. I wanted to be in sacred union, and that's why like we were both like monogamous for a very long time during that process, because there was something in me that was like, I really want sacred union. I know that we are already like, we're the divine masculine feminine, but there's something I want to connect more. There was something that it wasn't even like me. It was like my soul wanted something deeper. I wanted to, even if this is so silly, and I'm just going to say it. I wanted you know, we're very sexual. We're both very sexual, and our sex is it varies a lot in the spectrum. And we would call it vanilla sex. Like, we need to learn to have vanilla sex. It's okay if sex is boring, you know, because we've never had boring sex. We've never had vanilla sex of just missionary making love, you know, like, and I was craving for that for some reason, because our sex has always been wild, you know, very passionate, intense, kinky, you know, different, like, you know, different things. It's not even just kinky. It's just very different, you know.
Just
like
a lot of passion.
A lot of passion. Too hot, too fiery. And so we wanted, you know, to cool down.
Some water.
Yeah. And then in the last like 6-7 months, it's been very like blissful. I was telling everyone, oh my God, I've never had this serenity, tranquility, words I would never use. But it felt really like cooling, and it felt like nice to be in sacred union, have a monogamous container, and not always be so erotically charged, because we have so much eros. And I wanted to just be more yin and flow, and yeah, and just have, you know, whatever you want to call it, vanilla sex. And he would freak out. He's like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. And I would be like, no, just calm down.
Thank you for being so transparent about all that. I think it's really powerful for everybody to hear, you know, even within one relationship, how much kind of like different moments we can go through, and flavors, and breaks, and on and off, you know, kind of energy. And I really relate. I actually like broke my celibacy on November 11th. I didn't remember that was your wedding.
Yes, it was a very powerful day. Oh my God.
And I've been craving that too, just like simple sex, like simple love making, like vanilla, whatever you want to call it.
And it's okay to laugh, and it's okay that we do mistakes.
And cry, and
it was just like, it's okay to let it be messy. No, I did not have an orgasm. No, like, that didn't feel good. Like, it's fine.
It's
like,
okay.
It's just a shared experience, and that in itself is intimacy.
Yes, exactly.
It's not just a picture perfect of like, okay, we're gonna sit in yum yum and we're gonna breathe together and eye gaze, you know, like. And I didn't want all that. I just wanted more simplicity. That's really what it was, you know. And now we're in a different, now, you know, because of the spring equinox, now there's a different shift. You know, now I'm trying to get back into my pleasure practices, trying to get that energy back, because, you know, last year was a little rough, that I'm still kind of integrating, kind of like, what the fuck happened, you know, and moving very slow into like the work that I'm doing in the world, in my business. I haven't talked about it here, but I don't know how, it's not that I quit my business. I put a pause on it for most of last year, even though people thought I was like working. And
I did too. I don't know if anyone noticed, but I totally did.
Yeah, I didn't know. I thought you were still working, but I guess that's what people get from social media. People were like, oh my God, you post every day. I'm like, I don't post at all anymore, really. That was one of the things that last year I let go of like posting like so much on Facebook and Instagram. I kind of just like flow, you know, which is crazy because I was such a Facebook fiend, and now I only post like once every 2 weeks. I hardly post. But it's interesting how people perceive you in a different way, because they're like, oh my God, you're doing so much work. I see you posting all the time. And I'm like, I remember there was one time where I told someone, I'm like, I haven't posted in a month. So yeah, it's interesting. I think that when you have a lot of energy, like your energy is like everywhere. So people think you're still moving. And I'm like, no, I had to put a pause on my business because last year I just didn't want anything. Anything.
I think it's so healthy to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And kind of getting to my question around the topic of like, what is feminine leadership to you? And I feel like I'm hearing you speak to it, you know, in so many different ways, but I'm curious what comes up for you.
For me, feminine leadership, well, I feel like it doesn't have to, I don't think it all has to do with just business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I do teach also about feminine leadership. And for me, it's like being a light vessel in your family or friends. It doesn't mean that you have to be, you know, famous or rich or have a business or be an entrepreneur or anything like that. For me, it's like being a leader and you know when you're the leader. It's usually the black sheep of the family, which is only like the one person. And that to me is like being the light vessel and being a leader in your everyday life, being this, you know, embodying that energy of sovereignty, of like how do you handle situations, how are you in the world, how do you speak to people, just being like an integrity moment to moment, and just being in your truth, and whatever your gifts are of sharing that, being of service. And like I said, it has nothing to do with getting rich by it, you know, or making money. It doesn't have to be like you have to make a you know, a profit out of it, but like making an impact, even though you know, just anyone making an impact in the world around you. And so for me, feminine leadership just means all that, of just how you show up in the world and embodying that energy, you know, slowing down, but also taking action, because I do feel like it's both. It doesn't mean that, oh, I'm just going to be, you know, a lazy goddess. No, you know, it's about integrating the both divine masculine and feminine, and the yin and yang of like no pushing, no pressure, and slowing down, but also taking actions in you know, in whatever it is that you want to do in the world. And so that's kind of like how I work. That's kind of how I flow.
I love that definition. I think, you know, being a light vessel in your own world, in whatever way that is.
Yeah,
that's a powerful message for people.
Yeah, because like I said, you don't have to be, you know, an influencer. Because I know that right now there's so much going on. There's so much entrepreneurship. Everyone's a coach now, which is great, but I just don't want people to feel pressured that they need to show up in the world.
Yeah, or that like, who they are, what they're doing is not valuable if they're not doing that.
Yeah.
So my last question is, why now? Why do you think it's so important for us, for women, to step into our leadership in whatever capacity that is, our gifts, our purpose, our voice?
Because we are needed. It's time. It's been time. It's been too long, too many years of like women being suppressed, shamed, silenced, and our voices need to be heard. We need to be seen, and we need to show up, even though we are gonna go through shit, even though we're gonna feel a lot of, you know, of that contraction, because it's in our DNA, it's in our lineage, and of like, you cannot speak up, you cannot be who you are and not express yourself. And I think that that's what's going to heal the world. And one of the things that I say is that I do believe that sexually liberated women are going to heal the world. And what I mean by that is women who are connected to their body and connected to their sexuality and sensuality. I really do feel like the more that we have women who are empowered, because that is a sexually liberated woman, where they're going to feel empowered, confident, and be able to speak up their truth and not apologize for who they are and be themselves. And that gives permission to everyone else. And if I rise, then all the women that in the world have that permission to rise. If I feel empowered, we're doing it for the women who are out in the other side of the world who don't have freedom at all. and hopefully there'll be shifts somehow. Yes, it might take long. I don't know how the world will be in 50 years. But I think we are trending in a good way of like women need to show up in the government, in these bigger roles, so that the world can change, because it just hasn't been working this whole time. And the planet needs us. We need to, we need to clean up the mess, basically, and just heal this planet, because then I don't know how it's going to look like when our children are here,
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Was there something else you wanted to say?
No, I was just going to say that we just need to like do our own work, and clean our own messes. Try to do our best of like, doing the external work of, there's a ton of things that I would love to do, but it's just little me, so I could only have the capacity to do the, whatever I can. Because I do think about the world a lot. Every day I'm like, damn, what can I do to change this and change that? But sometimes it comes to like, I need to do the work on myself and stop thinking, the external, when I still have some stuff to work through.
Yeah. I love that kind of like reframing, cleaning up on your kind of side of the street, your corner of the world. Yeah. Powerful. Thank you so much, sister. So appreciate you. Appreciate how you kind of slow down and take care of yourself, and just let yourself be on your journey.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm not alone.
Yeah.
That's crazy. 2018 is the year we will always remember.
Yeah. We're just going to keep growing and growing together.
Yes.
Yay. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. And do you have a gift to share?
Oh, yes. So I have my pussy challenge.
Yay! Thank you.
Which is, it's a video series. It's for 30 days, and it's very simple. There's little simple daily actions that you can take every day, quick little videos with a tip for you to, do on each day. And you can sign up to that. It's to connect to the primal source of energy inside of us, connection to your body, so that you can boost your creativity, increase your Shakti, have better sex, maybe some orgasms, but definitely deeper to, connection to your body. So the challenge is, will you?
Yeah, we'll put it here.
Okay, yeah, because it's kind of hard for me to say. It's bit.ly, bit.ly/pussy challenge.
Cool. We'll have it for them. Thank you so much. We'd love to hear from you, what comes up for you when you were listening to Tatiana share her story and her journey. I know there's a lot of wisdom in here that I'm just gonna kind of take a little moment to journal about, actually, and breathe into. So invite you to share with us what comes up for you and where you can kind of like pull your energy back into yourself and just clean up a little bit more in here in the most loving way. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.